Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the part two of this leadership masterclass this morning. Uh, Thank you for getting up on this Saturday morning. And I'm looking forward to spending time with you, sharing and picking up what we need to do, what we need to move forward on. We had a great time last week, and I'm looking forward to building on what we talked about last week. So, thank you again for being a part of this. So, as you know, this is what we talked about, building a leadership toolkit, creating the necessary essentials for leadership going forth. And so I thought it was important to recap just a little bit as we go forth because we got some great things we need to tackle going forward today that I think we're going to really enjoy talking about. So right as we are about to begin, you'll notice pinned on the top of the chat is a link that will allow you to subscribe to Kenneth K. Law Life and Leadership, where we can send you monthly leadership principles and let you know things that are coming, new online courses, new online teachings, different things, even in person gatherings that are coming to help us all grow in our life and in our leadership. So click on that link before you get off here today and make sure you subscribe, and you will begin to receive information throughout the month on things that are going to help you and things that will help you in ministry, marketplace, but also even some marriage stuff, because leadership impacts everywhere and everything, whether we know it, believe it, or not. So I'm excited about the possibilities of what is going to happen and what you're going to grow and learn and to do. And while you're here and while you're preparing for this hour of power, like and share my page, please, and share it with others. Subscribe, get that bell, hit that bell for notifications so that you can always be aware of when I'm on and when things are going forth. So let's stop, drop, and roll. Let's get ready to go into this stuff. I'm excited about this. So I hope you are too, and hope you're prepared to take notes. Hope you are prepared to think and to grow, be stretched a little bit, and go forth better. We will be better in the next few minutes, and that's the goal. The goal is always better, whether it's 1%, 5%, 10%, 100%. The goal is always to be better than you were yesterday, better than you were an hour ago. It's always possible. The opportunity is always there to get better. So let's do that today. So put in the comments, today I will get better. Today I will get better. Now let's jump into to refresh what is the leadership toolkit that we have here. I talked about it. Why is this so important to have a toolkit, a leadership toolkit? A leadership toolkit is a comprehensive set of skills, strategies, mental models, spiritual principles, and emotional competencies that a leader cultivates to lead effectively in all dimensions of life, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, and strategically. So, just as a craftsman needs tools to build, a leader needs intentional tools to influence, inspire, and implement. So, as you begin to build as a leader, sometimes we stop at the title of leader or leadership, the function, the gift, the spirit of leadership, but we don't necessarily build the necessary essential tools that really make you a bona fide leader. It's not the title that simply makes the leader. It is the heart, the mindset, the spirit, the direction, the vision, the competency, the skills, the understanding, the wisdom, the knowledge, the education, the equipping, the mentoring, the coaching. All of those things add up to really make you a true, authentic leader that's effective and impactful in a positive way. So, your toolkit really are things that you build along the way that help you to deal with situations that arise that leaders deal with on a daily basis, whether you are at home, school, church, marketplace, business owner, uh, freelancer, whatever the case may be. these skills, this toolkit that you will build and have, are resources that you can always tap into, whether they're mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially, physically, educationally, whatever the case may be, that you can always tap into to pull out that tool to apply it to this situation so that you can solve it. Tools help you to solve. Anytime a plumber shows up to your house with no tools, I'm concerned if he can actually plumb, if he's an actual effective plumber, because how can you fix something with just your title alone? Just him being a plumber is not good enough for me. It's him being a plumber that knows he must have essential tools to deal with various problems. That's what we're paying for. So we pay him or her an hourly rate based on their ability to bring the necessary tools to the situation. They may not use all of the tools, but they have the right tools on hand for that moment, for that situation. Whether it's unplugging, unclogging a sink or fixing a shower head or something, even cleaning out a sewer line. They have the tools necessary with them and the knowledge on how to use them. That's why every leader needs a toolkit. Those things that are put in place for you to understand how to use what you have to fix what's in front of you so you can continue to lead forward. That's why you should have a toolkit, not just a title, but actual tools and resources and experiences that you can rely on, build from, that help you tackle daily leadership matters. Whether it's on a team or it's personal to yourself, you need a leadership toolkit that you create, that when you're dealing with certain situations, you go to your toolkit, you open that toolkit up, and you look to see, what do I pull out first to deal with this? One of the things, right before I tackle in this and going forward, one of the things that you must have when you're dealing with, as far as leadership, understanding the problem. This is understanding the problem. I'm giving you this one off the, this is not on here, but I'm going to give you this one because I want you to understand that when you approach something as a leader, the goal is not to worship the problem. The goal is to understand the problem. Worshiping the problem means we simply surround it and talk about how bad it is. And we talk about how it's just this, it's that, but nobody really has a solution-minded approach. So we must develop a solution-minded approach when we're facing problems. So one of the things in your leadership toolkit is that when you're facing something, the goal is not to worship the problem. The goal is to understand the problem. You can't fix what you don't understand. And when you understand, then you're able to move to your next tool that will apply to this particular situation. So you want to be able to understand the problem. You can't faint, you can't fall away, you can't run away, you can't worship it, you can't just talk about it and complain it away. You need to understand it so you can solve it, because obviously you can. So don't ever doubt your ability to solve. What may challenge your ability to solve is your ability to understand. And the more you train yourself to understand, the more you train yourself to really approach it from a place of being solution-minded, then problems don't look like they used to look. They look more attainable. They look more, you can overcome them. We can break them down. We can solve them on different levels. We can fix those things so that they don't happen again. So don't spend time trying to worship the problem and encircle it with complaints and murmuring. Circle it with solutions. Circle it with wisdom. Circle the problem with knowledge. You will need knowledge. So you need to understand what's the problem. So it helps you to then now decide what tool you now need. So let's move forward. To move forward, because one of the things I talked about in our last class was about how becoming a high performing leader. And what makes people high performing leaders is not so much how much energy and how much Red Bull they drink. What really helps people to be high performing leader is their ability to look at things from a different place, apply different strategies, understanding teamwork, collaborations, the power of unity, the power of a strong team, the difference between being a family and being a team. There is a difference. I'll talk about that in another masterclass of being a team, rather being a family and a team. A high performing leader is able to pull things together, able to solve on a high level, able to get the team to raise its performance level up by leading the way of how to execute in the performance of their duties. And it doesn't always mean, like I said, running everywhere, being in everything, being in every meeting. It is a different clarity and a different insight that they have, almost like an eagle eye approach to fly high and to be able to look wide, look far, but also to look down and to see what some of us don't see, and then bring us up to the place that we can see it. A high performing leader does not just cast vision, but they help the team to see the vision, to own the vision, and to move the vision forward, but also expand it, to expand the vision. So let me give you a definition, if you don't have one already. It says a high performing leader is a purpose driven individual who integrates strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, spiritual maturity, and relentless execution to produce exceptional and sustained outcomes in themselves and their teams. These leaders navigate complexity with clarity, consistently exceed expectations, and empower others to rise. We just talked about that. So let me give you an expanded narrative of a high performing leader. High performing leaders rather are not just task driven, they are transformation driven. Their leadership is built upon a foundation of personal discipline, clarity of vision, consistent character, and the ability to galvanize diverse individuals toward a common purpose. They serve as cultural architects and are emotionally resilient, spiritually grounded, and intellectually agile. We talked about that before. I would add, along with being intellectually agile, being also emotionally agile, being resilient, being able to bounce back, being able to think back. Sometimes we get hit with things that really can mess us up, mess our focus, but your thinking, your intellect, and your emotions have to develop an agility to be able to maneuver, to move, to snap back in place, to pick back up momentum. There are things that will happen, they do happen. You can't avoid them, but you can develop a different dexterity and agility necessary to overcome, to break through, to lead the people forward, to lead them around sometimes, to lead them better, whatever the situation may be. So you definitely need to develop agility in your emotions, agility in your intellect, agility in your leadership, being able to be a little more flexible, not so stuck in a particular place or particular perspective, but allowing yourself to be agile enough to reach the conclusion, to get to a place where we win. We must be able to win. One of the things in football, and if you're familiar with that, there are times, and based on the quarterback's experience and based on how the team and the coach and the coordinators, how they trust the quarterback and their ability to make decisions, they are able to get to the line of scrimmage right before they call a play that has already been called. There's a play in the huddle that's already been called. And what they do, they get there and they assess the situation and they assess the defense and they look at everything that is being presented before them. And they have the power, because of experience and trust and ability, to do something called call an audible. Calling an audible means that they assess the situation very quickly and they change the play and they called something that would do something different that the defense is unaware of because the defense has put something in front of them that they have assumed or are based on what they think this is what you're about to do. And sometimes they are right. The defense is absolutely correct. Yes, we're about to run this ball right through here, and they're prepared for it. So there's times that you have to allow yourself to assess the defense and look and pause for a moment. And based on your experience and based on the trust that you have with the coach, your teammates, and the coordinators, and your wisdom and your ability to have done these things in the past, you have to shift the team, the agility of the team at that moment, that instead of us doing this, we're going to go this way. And the team has to be comfortable with audibles. The team has to be comfortable that we've changed the play today based on what we've seen, what we have assessed, and what they've put in front of us will hurt us. It's going to block us. It's going to stop us from winning. So we're going to call audibles that will shift and give us a better percentage of winning, of moving forward, of scoring, of advancing down the field. So being agile is part of your toolbox. It is your ability to realize we must make a change. We must pivot. We must pivot quickly. I can't just stay stuck in my idea. I must adjust my idea. I must adjust our goals based on what we see. What we saw in January was different, but what we now see in July is profoundly different. We have to assess. So part of your toolkit must be agility. One of them, understanding the problem. Here's another one, agility, making sure you are agile enough to adjust, to pivot, to make sure you are able to turn so that you don't get sacked, so you don't get blocked, and so you can continue to advance on your way to victory. That's the goal. We got to be able to assess where we are so we can still focus on the long-term goal. The long-term goal is victory, is winning. But the short-term goal is making adjustments that will keep us in alignment to our long-term goals, which is a touchdown. Touchdowns lead to more touchdowns, leads to wins, leads to championships, leads to trophies, and so forth and so forth. So to create a winning momentum, you have to allow yourself to create a pivoting momentum that we are allowed and comfortable with shifting and going a different direction based on what we've just now assessed and discerned at the moment. It doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're a wise leader. Is that you've paid attention and you did not let ego and you didn't let pride drive your decisions, and you ran the team right into a blitz and did not make the changes necessary. You don't have to lose. You don't always have to lose on purpose. You can win on purpose by making some adjustments. So I hope you can add that to your toolkit. Okay. Add that to your toolkit. So let's get into some other things here as we move forward. And once again, thank you for being on here today. I'm glad that you're here. And like I said, you see the link. You see the link that's pinned that you can subscribe to Kenneth K. Law Life and Leadership. And we're going to start sending things out to you. Great teachings are coming, and great things are happening. So let's continue to move forward. I hope this is blessing you this Saturday morning. We used to watch cartoons at this time, but now we're on master classes. Boy, we have grown up. So let's move forward. So the two things. One thing I will recap just a little bit. We talked about mindsets. And so what I just talked about is another form of a mindset. We didn't talk about it in great detail, but there's the fixed mindset, the growth mindset. Some of you are familiar with that. And so when we deal with fixed mindsets lock themselves into the present data that they have. They lock themselves into old accomplishments, old successes. They lock themselves up into old ideas that worked at one time. They were not bad ideas, but they have now possibly have been outdated ideas that need to be refreshed. But because of people's sometimes fixed mindsets, they don't allow the ideas to flourish, to be pruned for greater fruitfulness. I don't know if you realize in this or not, but your idea from time to time, your vision from time to time has to be pruned. It has to be, the dead limbs have to be cut off, the dead leaves have to be cut off so it can bloom again, so it can grow again. So don't be afraid to prune your ideas. Don't be afraid to prune vision. Don't be afraid to prune goals. You're at a different place that when your age can change your goals. Your finances can change your goals. It doesn't mean they have to go away. It means that simply you may need to prune because of where you are in life, where you are in your career, where you are. You may have started your business and you had a house full of children. You and your spouse had children, and now you're empty nesters. So you got the same goal, but you may need to prune it because you now may have a different flexibility and of your schedule that you didn't have for the last 18 to 20 years. So sometimes you can be behaving in an old mindset, not realizing you're in a new place now. So allow yourself to go back and prune how you began and now assess where you are and then look at what you may need to prune, what you may need to cut, what you may need to get rid of because you're not in the same place. You're a different person. You have evolved. There's a new person in you that has come up and grown and moved forward. So you have to prepare for the new you that really is even the more exciting because now your determination is a little more sharp. You're wiser. You've gone through some things. You have dealt with some things, and your experience backpack is a lot fuller. It's heavier. You got a little more experience behind you. You've had some highs, some lows, some losses, but you have all of those are learns. Highs, lows, losses, but all of those are learns. We don't lose, we learn. So all of those are learns. So you don't have wins and losses, you have wins and learns. And so if you begin to look at it from a different place that we're not losing, we're learning. It may be painful, but we're learning. And out of that learning, you develop more for your toolkit, more wisdom, more knowledge, more understanding, more experience, more understanding of how things and how people work and the times that you're now in, and you begin to evolve. So that's a mindset that you must allow yourself to uh, evolve in, a different mindset that you have grown. You're no longer fixed. And sometimes we stay fixed because we're fearful and afraid of the access to new. Because sometimes we believe that we've learned as much, and then some of it is we a little life lazy. We can become a little life lazy. Well, what's life lazy? I'm glad you asked. Life lazy is when you probably have gotten to a certain place and you have burned a lot of fuel in the years prior on people, situations, things, certain matters. You've taken blows, your family's taken hits, your health has maybe taken hits, you've gone through career changes, you're married, all that kind of stuff with your children and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes we get life lazy to the point that whatever. And so I want you to assess, have you become life lazy? Have you become life lazy? You good, you're a great person, you got amazing ability, you got talent, you got gifts like no other. You can really bring a lot to the team, but have you become life lazy? And it's easy to become life lazy because life just is so much comes with it, and there's so much fuel that we have burned over the years that sometimes the opportunity that we've been waiting for is hard for us to really grasp because we have not built up from the past. We haven't restored ourselves from the past. This is one of the reasons why exercise is so important, because exercise will help you to break past life laziness. It helps you to break that by allowing yourself to move again. And you start moving simply by exercising, going for a walk, going and taking the time to move differently and to put fitness. And fitness is not always just gym, but fitness is for your life, the fitness of the mind, the fitness of the spirit, the fitness of the heart, the fitness of the soul, the fitness of your strength, the fitness of family, the fitness of finances, putting all those things together, looking for ways to break them through by applying fitness back into different areas of your life to break you out of life lazy, those pockets. And then we turn around and age has caught up. But the reason age feels so agey is because we let life get so lazy. And then we get stiff and we lack movement, but we still got a dream and we still got some goals, but yet our lives, and I'm not saying lazy as in the negative form of laziness. I'm talking about lazy as in I'm just tired. I'm just exhausted. I'm overwhelmed. The kids took me out. Now they're on their own and I'm pooped. So now you have to prune your life. You have to go back and prune your life because you're in a different place now and you're at a different thinking. So you can't allow life lazy to keep you in a fixed mindset when really you're designed for growth, you're designed for vision, you're designed for dreams, you're designed for accomplishments, you're designed for movement, you're designed for purpose, destiny, you're designed for a positive impact. You're designed to make a difference in the world, but life lazy does come. It does happen to a lot of people more than you realize it. And sometimes folk just have thrown their hands up here, but really in their hearts, they still burn. So I believe I'm talking to some of you that still burn in your heart for greater things, but you've done a lot. You've birthed children, you've raised children, you've taken care of a household, you've gone to work, you've worked two jobs, you have taken care of other people's children, your parents, you have done this, you have done that, you've gone to school, you tried to go to school, you didn't get to go back to school, now you're going back to school. It's so much has happened that it's like, whoo, and that's okay. It's called life is lifing. That's what happens. That means you kept moving, you kept being fruitful, you kept you kept doing the things that you were designed to do. But you also have to realize, hey, you might not have never taken a break in any of those years. You never took a good vacation, you never took a sabbatical, you never allowed yourself to just rest your mind, rest your thoughts. And now other opportunities and desires have come, but you feel that you're in a place of life lazy. So you have to help put the fitness back into it and help put the movement back in things. Simply taking a walk, having positive conversations with people who desire to grow. You can't hang around a bunch of life lazy people because that will cripple you and bring you into a place of not just stagnation, but really deep bitterness because you know you're better than this. That's why one of the reasons I do this, because all of us, especially those over the age of 50, it's easy to get life lazy because of so hard we ran in our 20s and our 30s and our 40s. So if you've been running hard for 30 plus years, sometimes when you get to the 50 mark, you feel like that's the time to pull over. And it's okay to pull over, but you forgot to get back on the highway. It's a rest stop, not a rest stay. So when you're traveling down the interstate, they say, here's a rest stop. You know, you come in and you rest, you stop for a moment, but you're not supposed to stay there. So that's why the amenities are very few. It's just a bathroom and to stretch your legs and to get you a snack and a vending machine and get back on it. So when you're dealing with life lazy, you need a rest. You need to come into a rest stop, but you can't create and make it a rest stay. You got to get back on the road. So I'm challenging everybody here. You got to get back on the road. Put that in, type that in the comments and say, get back on the road. We still got a trip to take. And that's one of the reasons this exists. This is why I do the things that I do, to help many of us get back on the road. And when you get back on the road, you'll find yourself breaking free of a fixed mindset. And now you're operating and you're moving in the growth mindset where you're open to new experiences. You are open to new um, relationships and meeting people who think differently, people who can give you a different perspective about life, about business, principles that have helped them to succeed. You can learn your best when you get older because now you know what to focus on learning. You really do now. When we're younger, we don't know really what to focus on. We're just trying to do it all. But the older you get, you focus your learning like, no, those are the things I need to know based on where I am today, based on what I would like to do tomorrow. These are the things I need to learn. These are the people that I need to be around. Now, your learning discernment is so much sharper, your learning radar, you are more acute to the learning diet that you need now. I want you to understand that you have to develop a new learning diet. So when you're on here, this is a part of your learning diet. You are now changing not just what you eat, but also what you learn. So learning is an appetite. So that helps with your growth mindset because you must feed growth just like a plant. It needs to be fed fertilizer, water, sunshine. You have to feed your growth with the necessary nutrients. The necessary people, the necessary teachers, coaches, mentors, fathers, whatever the case may be, mothers, those that have been there, done that, and still been doing that in other levels. You don't stop evolving, and life never stops lifing until we get to the very end of our lives. And even then, our life is still lifing for others now. We may not be here, but our life is still lifing for others. So that means your impact must be sure. Your influence must be healthy. It must be amazing. It needs to be great because even though your life may have come to an end, your life will be still lifing for them. That's the life that we should leave behind, a life that is still lifing for the people that are now coming behind us. They're coming behind our experiences. They're coming behind our wisdom. They're coming behind our teachings. They're coming behind our growth. So our life should still be lifing even when we're no longer in this life, so that you really never left. The goal is not only to die empty, but to also live a way that even when you're gone, you're still here. That's true discipleship. True discipleship is to grow so much in what the teacher has taught that when the teacher departs, the teachings still remain as if the teacher never left. That's true discipleship. That's true discipleship. It's not so much what you learn, it's the life you live that people can learn from. So we live lives so others can learn from, so that when we move on and transition, our lives are still living through them. So it comes across that we're still here. That's how you know you're leading well and you're leading forward and you're leading at high levels. You're leading in a way with such wisdom, such understanding. You're leading in ways that really just impacts those that is like he's like he's still here. It's like she's still here. What do you mean? Every principle that comes out of their mouth, every action, the visions, the dreams, the goals. It's like they're still here. So your life should be lived in a way that you exhaust every opportunity, that you exhaust everything that's put in front of you, every drop of purpose, so that when you leave, your books are on their shelves, your podcasts are still out there, your voice is still in the earth, your teachings are still in their heart, and it's creating more and more momentum that makes people's lives better. That's now how you know you're living, because you're going to exhaust every opportunity to make sure your life is lifing for impact. So I hope that helped you a little bit. I'm going to let me move forward because I have still more to teach you. So let's move on. We're going to try and cover these last two. And remember, go to the link, subscribe, so you can be a part of what we're doing here, and so you can um, get information and principles and things going forth as you see this and as you are a part of this. So here's a next module I want us to tackle quickly, and I want to get to one other before our time is up. Is communication. Communication. I want to get to this. Let's really see how much we can go with this one. Communication is the act of transmitting information, emotion, and intention through verbal, nonverbal, emotional, spiritual, and written channels to influence thought, cultivate connection, and inspire aligned action. One of the reasons that I brought up communication because I think communication is one of the least understood strategies, keys, and abilities that we don't know how to really communicate. We know how to energize our communication, whether it's screaming, hollering, or just silence. But very few people have been taught how to intentionally communicate with others in situations. So I want to bring that up because I really think many of us are missing out on some of the best of life, some of the best relationships, some of the best opportunities because we don't know how to communicate. And many marriages are failing because of a lack of communication or a lack of understanding of communication because many of us were never taught how to communicate. We were taught how to talk, but we weren't necessarily taught how to communicate. And sometimes we think talking is the same thing as communicating. Talking is simply the physical ability to be able to announce, to pronounce a language, a sound, regardless of where you come from. But communication is actually the intentionality of talking. So communication is the intentionality of talking, that when I talk, it has an intention, a strategy, a goal. It has a place it needs to reach. That's called communication. And that's why some people call it an art, the art of communication, because not many of us understand the art of communication. So we're going to talk about this a little bit and perhaps I'll do another class on this one. So here we go. Let's expand the narrative a little bit. Communication is not merely what we say, it's what others receive, interpret, and respond to. So the most powerful leaders don't just speak clearly, they create emotional resonance. Communication includes the unseen, tone, timing, energy, and even silence, as I stated. So, in the book, The Next Conversation by Jefferson Fisher, he emphasizes that communication is not about winning, it's about relationship. I'm going to say that again. Communication is not about winning, it's about communication. Rather, it's about relationship. So, every conversation has a goal, a clarity, connection, or collaboration. So the goal here is clarity, connection, or collaboration. Effective leaders choose the right goal at the right time. Well, let's talk about this. So in the book Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg, he identifies that great communicators understand three types of conversation. He says the first one is practical conversations, focused on facts and data. Then there are emotional conversations, addressing how people feel. And then the third is social conversations, navigating identity, belonging, and group dynamics. navigating identity, belonging, and group dynamics. Now, watch this now. This is a point I want to bring up that I think is crucial. The most successful communicators know how to identify which type of conversation is happening and adapt accordingly. So here's one of the things, one of the strategies, the power of communication is that by you understanding these three particular areas of communication, you actually can come into a conversation and begin to ask what conversation, communication are we about to have? So then I know how I need to communicate back to you, and I can understand how you're communicating to me. So if I come into a practical conversation with you, but you're trying to have an emotional conversation with me, then we're going to have confusion and misunderstanding. So sometimes before you have a conversation with someone, it's almost like you have to ask, what kind of conversation are we about to have so that I know how to listen to you and I know how to respond to you and I know how to communicate back to you that will help you, but also to help me. So sometimes we can come into certain conversations and this person wants to have an emotional conversation, but you're in social conversation mode. And you ever have a person walk in and you're talking about something serious, but they're playful and it frustrates you because you're serious, but they're too playful. That means that you're on two different planes of communication that's not clear. So I get it. Not all the time a person would be able to say, what are we doing? But sometimes you have to address and say, listen, I appreciate your wit, I appreciate your humor, but I need to have a serious conversation with you. And serious doesn't necessarily mean something is wrong. It just means the dynamics of the conversation, of the communication need to be understood so that how I listen and how I receive and how I interpret is more in a line to what they're trying to say. So I'm not defensive. I'm actually in a place, a posture of matured listening because I'm not going to take it personal. I'm going to listen because there's something serious she needs to say, he needs to say. So I need to have a serious listening. I need to have a serious understanding so that we can solve this and she can walk away with what she needs and I can walk away with what I need to understand. So when we understand different practical things of conversations, then what happens, perhaps we can solve faster. So when you're having meetings and things of that nature, some meetings are can be jovial, but then you have to make a decision, what are we addressing? And sometimes some people in the meeting are ready to deal with data. And then some people are here to kind of, relax for a moment and then deal with the data. So we have to kind of address how are we going to conversate, how are we going to communicate? And it's okay to be able to say, I need to have a serious conversation with you, or to begin the meeting and say, listen, thank you for coming today. I want to address some matters that I think are certain matters that are important and serious to the organization, the ministry, to me, or whatever. And so I ask for your undivided attention as I share these things, but I also ask that you would also respond appropriately or whatever the case may be to what we're about to talk about. And what it does, it just kind of helps put everyone on notice that this is the conversation that we're about to have. Doesn't mean it's negative. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean that someone's about to get cussed out. It simply means that the dynamics have been understood, they've been stated. So our posture of listening, of interpretation, of receiving and dissecting information is on a different, more matured place than this person having a practical conversation and I'm over here in a social conversation. Sometimes it's okay to say, uh, this is the kind of conversation we need to have right now. Okay. So here are forms of communication: verbal, what you say requires clarity and confidence, verbal; nonverbal, how you say it, tone, posture, facial expression. Those are things that we sometimes have to work on because here's the question. Write this down. Who taught you how to communicate? Not who taught you how to talk, who taught you how to communicate. Because if you come from a house that's nonverbal, perhaps you're a nonverbal communicator. If you come from a house that had a lot of frailing of the hands and a lot of body movement, but a lot of height, a lot of tone, a lot of volume, a lot of velocity, then perhaps you that's how you communicate. You learned it whether you wanted to or not because it was part of your culture. So you have to ask yourself who taught you how to communicate. That makes a big difference on how you now communicate. And so you're able to address uh, your communication repertoire. How do you communicate? Written, digital notes, text, emails. Requires brevity and tone awareness. You got to be careful of your tone. Someone told me the other day, said, when you text me and you say okay, sometimes I just say okay, and they say, and you put dot, dot, dot. I say, yeah. And they're like, well, that means you're okay, but you may not like what it is, and I that may put me on edge. And I like the dot dot dot, and they're like, yeah, because being around you, I know when you're not really cool with something. So you'll say okay, and I was like, I don't think of it like that. I didn't see it like that, but that's what my text was coming across. Even though in my mind, I'm just texting, okay, go do what you got to do. Not too much to say. But to them, their interpretation, which you must respect that person's interpretation, whether you get it or not, whether you understand it or not. You got to respect. That's how they interpret it, and so being willing to look at those things and to understand. So sometimes now I send voice memos through text because I said, well, I can't do too wrong if they hear my voice. If they hear my voice, then at least they're like, okay, that's what he meant. So those are things you have to address. You have to be willing to let someone share that with you of how they interpret it. It's not right, it's not wrong. It's just simply interpretation. And so it's okay for them to be able to say that because at the end of the day, what do we need? Agreement. We need to be able to agree and talk about what we need to talk about. So if you got a whole lot of stuff in between there, that's going to make a big difference, and that's going to hinder going forward because great communication leads to great trust, great teamwork, great movement, great building, great vision. So communication is a big deal. It's a huge deal and something that we really underutilize and really don't necessarily fully know how to use correctly. Emotional forms of communication, managing how you make others feel. Emotional intelligence is key. Spiritual communication, discerning what God is saying and releasing it with boldness and humility. Visual, meaning charts, presentations, branding, visual storytelling enhances clarity. Sometimes, if you've ever been to some of my leadership training, one of the things I do in my leadership training, I create a lot of examples so that it's an immersive type atmosphere because I'm communicating to them while I'm talking. The room is communicating to them in another way about what we're addressing, what we're looking to do, what kind of mindset we must have in order to go forth and in order to come out of this training trained. So sometimes in order for you to come out of the training trained, you must communicate the training in different ways because people learn differently. So how to communicate effectively. We want to use the CLEAR framework. CLEAR is an acronym for the CLEAR framework. C, be concise. Get to the point. Be concise. Get to the point. L, listen. L, listen. Active listening is your superpower. Active listening is your superpower. People love a good listener, sometimes more than they love a good solver. Everyone's not necessarily needing you to solve, but a great listener helps a person to solve within themselves. They just needed an active listener that understood the assignment. Empathize. C is concise, L is listen, E, empathize. Empathize. Seek to understand. Seek to understand. Have empathy. See it from their eye, at least as much as you can. See it from their perspective. Whether you agree with it or not, just to understand and see what they see does not mean you have forfeited your character, your integrity, your core values. You're just simply looking to see where they come from. Empathy helps to build bridges and to create other opportunities for understanding and growth when we have empathy. A, align, ALIGN, align. Ensure mutual understanding. Ensure mutual understanding. And R, respond. Don't react, respond with wisdom. Don't react, respond with wisdom. Don't don't come into a conversation already huffed up and defensive because you are reacting and you're not listening. Once you go into react posture, listening shuts down because you don't hear what they're saying. So you can miss vital parts of information and you're ready to pounce on them as soon as you get to the end and you say, "Are you finished now?" Which means you did not ever listen to them in the first place because you took the posture of defense. And once you take that posture of defense, you can miss key words that you have already gone to the conclusion of a thing, ready to pounce on them about a thing that you don't fully understand. And when a person said, "Well, you finished now? Can I speak now?" You never heard me. So everything you're going to say is going to probably contradict or really be off the rails because you didn't listen to me. You didn't hear me say I did this and this. You just heard me say I did this, but you didn't hear me say, "Yeah, but I went and I fixed it and I did this and this." All you heard was the first thing came out of my mouth, but you didn't hear how I changed it or I fixed it or I apologized or I went and did this or I whatever. You didn't hear it. So we have to be careful that we don't always come into a posture of reacting, but we should be able to respond with wisdom. And so you want to choose the right goal for the conversation. Do you want to connect? You want to clarify or you want to correct? What's the goal? So when we talk, what's the goal of our conversation? Are we connecting? Are we clarifying? Or are we correcting? We either are connecting, we're clarifying, or correcting. So every conversation has a goal, whether it's positive or negative. When people say, "I'm going to give them a piece of my mind," that's their goal. That's their goal. "I'm going to give you a piece of my mind." So what's the goal when you go to talk to a person? Because if you go and say, "I just want them to hear what I got to say," okay, then you have to be able to deal with that. What is the goal? What is it? Are we connecting? Are we clarifying? Or are we correcting? Let's see where we are because that's part of communication. You can't hope we get there and stumble across it. That's you have to pick what's the goal of us coming together to talk. Why, if you're offended, we go to the brother to talk to him. What's the goal? To fix the relationship. That's the goal. That's what scripture tells us. If we go into it and hopefully the goal is you have won your brother or we part and go our separate ways. So the communication must have a goal. Why are we talking? Where are we going? And it has to be intentional. Okay. So I'm almost done here. I want to give you something. I didn't get to handling difficult conversations. I wanted to get to decision making, but I think I'll just stay right here. Maybe I'll do another one on that. But handling difficult conversations and conflict, I think this is important that we understand that. So difficult conversations are where leadership is forged. This is where it happens for you. It's not the accolades. It's not so much your gift and your being able to charge the crowd, but difficult conversations are it's where it's forged. Being able to say things and deal with things that you really takes you out of your introverted lifestyle, your shyness, and you want to lead, but you just don't want to deal with that over there. But that's where you're made. You're made in the forge, in the furnace of confrontation. And a lot of us don't like it, me included. But that's where I found really the confidence that I needed was in the furnace of confrontation, in the fire of conflict, and being able to navigate in that place and deal with those things and begin to talk about them from a controlled place, from a disciplined place where the emotions were there, but they were not leading the conversation. The hurt was not leading the conversation, but it's still there. It's in the room, but it doesn't own the room. We're not blind to it. We're just not going to let it dictate the goal of this conversation. So, keys to handling conflict. You have to prepare spiritually and emotionally. Some people, you got to pray sometimes before the conversation. Clarify your intent. Regulate yourself. Never confront in anger. Never confront in anger. Wait for emotional sobriety. Make sure, wait for emotional sobriety. Make sure you are at a place that you are sober in your emotions, that you're at a different place of control. Name the issue without blame. You can say, I notice versus you always. Here's the difference. I notice that we sometimes when we're around each other, it feels a little different. I notice that. Versus saying, well, every time you walk in the room, you always walk by and don't speak to me. So that's never going to be resolved. That's never going to be really handled in a healthy way. On the flip side, here, if you say, I've noticed that when we're around, we don't say any much. At one time, we really were talking. I just noticed that there's been a change in our relationship. Is there something that we can discuss so I have understanding about where we are with one another? And sometimes the person will be like, well, they might do that. And they're like, ain't nothing wrong. I don't, but well, you can't control the response, reaction of anybody, but you can control how you approach the issue and the vernacular that you use in order to bring it to light. Like I said, who taught us how to communicate? Because we don't hear all this stuff. So here, create safety. My intent is not to attack, but to understand and work through this. So when you're dealing with kind of rough conversations, you have to come in and say, listen, I'm not here to attack. I'm not here to beat you up. I'm here to understand. I want to work through this because I do care about you and I love you. And that's why I'm coming to you. I think we can make a great team, but we do have to perhaps conversate about these matters so we can get to a place of resolve. We can do this. And so you have to create safety and not everyone go in their corner and wait for the bell to ring and come out swinging. Listen without interrupting. I don't have time to dive into that, but we have to seek first to understand. Listen without interrupting, giving them eye contact, watch your face, watch your tone. If they say something you don't like, you can't be like, what you mean? What you talking about? I didn't say that. You know I love you. Just listen. Be able to listen so it can unfold the right way in front of you. Seek to understand. Oh, I wish I had more time for that. Invite feedback. Well, what's your perspective about that? Invite feedback. Invite feedback. And let that help you with your perspective. So here's a quick things as I have about 60 seconds left. Here are barriers to communication. Misaligned expectations, artificial harmony, fear of confrontation, poor emotional regulation. So these are barriers to communication. Misaligned expectations, artificial harmony, fear of confrontation, poor emotional regulation. And here are some strategic solutions. Practice what I call the pause before responding. Practice the pause, control, pause, self-control, pause before you respond. There's no law that says you have to respond within zero point 0.2 seconds. Pause. Make sure your emotions are regulated. Make sure that you have a better understanding of where you are so you can communicate clearly what's in your heart to respond to them accurately and calmly, but also intently, to with the goal being, let's solve this. Journal your communication triggers. Do you know what triggers you in the areas of communication? Because I can say something to you, but it's really not about me. It's something someone said to you years ago that triggers that anytime you hear a certain kind of conversation or wording or whatever the case is. So you have to uh, uh, journal your communication triggers. What jumps you off about stuff, even though that person wasn't there? If you're not aware of it, you're going to always hear things that are going to send you spiraling. They're going to send you spiraling. And so you got to journal your communication triggers. Here's two more. Rehearse key conversations with a mentor. That's why sometimes you need mentors. You need people that professionally can help you, not so much always therapists, but mentors that you can run the conversation through, that they can literally coach you in your form or your approach of communication so that you are mindful. You're mindful and you can be held accountable to the words and to the way you presented it, but also walk away from the conversation even after you presented it well and you did it accurately, but they just wasn't not in that place. You can't control that, but you can make sure you at least did the best you could to communicate strategically and mindfully of where they are, what the situation is. So rehearse key conversations with a mentor. And lastly, reflect after. What worked and what didn't? Reflect afterwards. What worked in that conversation? What didn't work in that conversation? What worked in that meeting? What didn't work in that meeting? And be able to deal with that, be able to reflect about that and be honest. If it was your tone, was it your facial, was it your body language, was it your articulation, was it your emotions in a certain place? You have to go back and be willing, because of the growth that you're in and the love you have for you. It's okay to be evaluated and to assess so that you become a better you. And the only way to be a better you is to address the weaker you, the parts of you that need more growth. You can't grow without the pruning. So assessing and reflecting is not condemnation. It is being able to go back and prune what you no longer need so you can grow in that area, so that you can bloom and go forth and bear much fruit. So I'm going to pause right there. I thank you all so much for being on here today. I hope this has blessed you, this part two. Please go to my link that's provided that you can subscribe and for more information to come. And look forward to things. If there's more, if you would like more master classes and things of that nature and courses, online courses, please let me know. We're going to have content communities that you can subscribe to for once a month and get a lot of these things almost unlimited based on what you subscribe to be a part of. So great things are coming through the Kenneth K. Law Life and Leadership um, team. And so I'm excited about that. Thank you again for allowing me to impart to you this Saturday morning. And I hope you have an amazing day. If you have any things that can, if you would like to take, I'll even take 20 seconds to allow you to just share something in the chat that really helped you, or something that this was brought clarity and brought understanding. And so you can have a great day. I hope this has helped you. I really have. It's helped me just teaching it, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So hopefully we'll connect again real soon. So I'm going to give about 10 more seconds if anyone needs to put anything in the chat. Um, um, Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. And so that this could help. And so stay tuned for those next master classes and the community that's coming. Um, and for a small investment, you'll get this stuff and more. And so stay tuned. It's going to be good. And you're going to continue to grow and it's going to be amazing. So did anyone get better today? Before I let you go, did anyone get better today, at least by 1%? And at least someone, before I turn this off, please let me know and say, hey, I got better today. I have definitely gotten better in the last hour. And so I know we got a thing here, but so good stuff. Good stuff. I believe we gotten better together. We're growing together. Good stuff. Gotcha. Yeah. Good stuff. So I'll work on some new things coming, especially in the area of communication, because, like I said, a lot of us were never taught how to communicate. And I'll work on something to deal with decision making because I think that's going to be crucial. And we're gonna learn. We're gonna continue to grow together in all things. Okay. So I hope you have a great day. Okay, great, great, great. Okay, good. Um, Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you all for chiming in, and please go to the link and be a part of the Kenneth K. Law leadership group. Please go to the email and subscribe, and so that's where the information will be coming. And then you can be a part of Kenneth K. Law Life and Leadership private group on YouTube, on Facebook rather, and there's some things will be in there also. So stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned, and thank you. Today we all have gotten better, and we will continue to grow together. So have an amazing Saturday. Go to somebody's church tomorrow and have a brunch and enjoy the day. Stay out of this heat and just enjoy the day. Continue to get better. You deserve it. You're awesome people. You're amazing. And the best is yet to come. So God bless you guys. I love you to life. I'm Kenneth K. Law with Kenneth K. Law Life and Leadership, and I'll see you soon. God bless you. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.